Okay, let's connect this stuff. So I'm going to create the first sculpt deformer. I'm going to select the mesh. Actually, what I should do first is make sure I freeze transforms on these. Now that I've moved them into position, I'll have to freeze transforms. So I'm going to grab both of them, make sure I go modify, freeze transforms. And if I have to, after I do the connection, if I get a cyclic warning, I will have to delete history on them because sometimes you can get a cyclic error when you connect them up. So I'm going to select the mesh, select the sculpt deformer and go deform, sculpt, deformer. And these initial settings are important. Also, just like the blend shapes, but I'm going to stick with flip. It is usually the better performing mode. I'll leave inside alone. These settings you can change after the fact. Same with maximum displacement and drop off type. Well, no, maximum displacement and drop off distance can be changed after the fact. These are actually what I'm going to rely on to control them with custom parameters. But these three settings that are checked are very important. This particular grouping allows me to have everything it creates under one group that I can move around. And this second option is what allows me to use a secondary object. If this wasn't checked, it would create its own sculpt deformer, a very basic primitive. So you have to have this checked if you want to use a secondary object. And this just ensures that pivots and stuff are centered within everything that is created. So I'm going to go apply, and this is the group it's created. And as you can see, initially it's done its imprint. That's why it has disappeared from view, because it is actually pushing on the surface. So I'm going to select the sculpt node and take a look at what this imprint is feeling like, because I do have to start off with a default look that I want, or find out what those numbers are. So I'm going to crank up the maximum displacement and see what this thing is doing. Okay, so this is what it's feeling like. Right, it's doing a very good job. I actually thought I was going to get a faceted look, but no, it looks pretty good. Because the underlying mesh is faceted, if you look at it, I thought that it was not going to imprint well, but I think all the Z-remeshing and smoothing in ZBrush gives it a smooth enough surface that those facets don't matter too much, and it's softening the effect very well. Let me go shading, wireframe unshaded. Yeah, so that's the ribcage impression. So very interesting. Now, initially, when I look at the swelling of it, I don't quite like that. So that's the drop-off distance. I'm going to play around with that. Just like that. Let me hide the actual mesh so I can see what's going on. Okay. So let me go a little higher. Say 0.5. Okay. Maybe 0.4. Just want a little bit of space in between there. Let me try 0.35. Yeah, I think after 0.35 it starts. Let me try 0.375. Yeah, I just want it to clear out any mistakes it's making. And I think this is a fairly good impression. Let me crank down the displacement a bit, since I only took it up there so I can analyze what's going on. Go 0.45. Yes, and that softens it a little bit. 0.42. Okay, so this isn't bad, and it goes all the way to the back. A lot of this I'll probably be painting out, but it's done a relatively good job. I'm actually surprised that I have a good job to start off with. Now, one thing I have not talked about as much is what I'm going to do to make these things even feel more realistic when they're triggering is a sliding action. So for the rib cage, since it's going to be triggered on a backward rotation, I am going to slide it up a little bit. So it's going to feel like it's sliding across the skin, and it's really going to help make it look really realistic. And the same with the abs. When she crunches, it's going to slide. They're going to slide down a bit. It's going to look really good. I can't wait for us to get there so you can see what this stuff looks like. All right, so I think one thing I have to take a look at is why the impression is not as intensified on the main mesh. I'm pretty sure it's because my deltamush deformer is on. So it does look like we are going to have to be coming in here and painting out our deltamush deformer again in this region. So I am going to take the deltamush deformer for now and turn it off. So I'll go 0 so I can get my full impression. And we're going to be painting twice, painting to ensure that we control the region of influence here, and painting to ensure that the deltamush deformer doesn't drown out whatever detail I'm allowing to echo through to come over here. All right, now just for the sake of being able to troubleshoot these together, I am going to connect the abs too, just so I can quickly see initially what's happening and what changes have to be made. So I am going to de-trigger this one, set it to 0, and I will also rename the node. So it's called sculpt ribcage. And I'm going to connect this one up. This one is weirdly just a little bit too large, so I'm sure I'm not going to be able to pipe in as much of a displacement, but it's fine. Anyway, so I'll select it, select the mesh, and with the same settings here, I'm going to go apply. Or I should have just gone create. So I can close this window now, and I can hide the sculpt deformer. And I also should name this one abs, and I should also name this group abs. I'll just stick with the name Mai gave me and append my identifiers. All right, so this one is looking really weird. Yeah, this one is broken, probably because of how wide the area of impact is. It seems to be doing the opposite. Or it seems to have just pummeled through, and it does do that even with the flip setting. When it's just protruding too much, it pushes through and then sort of flips, inverts. So what I'm going to do is grab the original mesh, and I'm going to scale it down on a component level. So I'll grab the vertices, and this is a dangerous change because if I don't like it, it's going to be hard to return to this, but I can undo it immediately. So I'm going to scale down on a component level until it's no longer protruding aggressively, or until it's no longer penetrating the mesh at all. There. So that's good. And yeah, it feels good. Definitely a bit too swollen with the effect. And when I do look at this, I realize that based off of where everything is, there's some positioning issues. So I'm going to move it up also on a component level, because I need the first ones to be right underneath the pectoralis, right over there. And again, it could use some more scaling down. And past this point, perhaps if I wanted to scale it down any more, let me look at it again too in the profile. I think in the profile, I might have to scale it out too, so it gets an even application all around. So if I scale it in the X, then I maybe start to see a little bit of my interdigitating serratus, which I don't think will show too well because it is a small piece of detail, and yeah, I don't think it will show as much. There's not enough geometry over there to push that detail. All right, but I think that's enough of the editing of the actual geometry. Yeah, I think they have about the same distance from the surface of the mesh, and I think this is going to suffice. So now I'm going to move to the actual sculpt deformer and start playing around with displacement just to see what it offers me in strength, because this is an aggressive protrusion. Toy with the maximum displacement until I get a good number. So let me try 0.7. Yeah, I might have to unedit this underlying mesh. From a look department, it is doing some things that I'm not too much a fan of. Let me try 0.5. Come down a little bit more to a 0.3. Take a look at what this underlying mesh is feeling like. Yeah, when I was done with this thing, I applied a contrast to it in ZBrush. I may have gone a little bit too far with that contrast effect because it has produced very aggressive bulges. Ultimately, I can resolve a lot of this with, again, painting it in and out with component tags, because I do like this, although I don't like this mass over here. This oblique mass is just simply too defined. Yeah, I think I'm going to go into ZBrush and make some alterations because this is a bit too aggressive. I don't like this mound here. This split in the obliques. I was trying to create like a V shape, but I think it's too much. Actually, I could keep this V with the paintwork. I could paint this out. So I just want this little indent here, a slight bit of it, but I should have been more careful with that contrast node.